The silence bothered Ren Talloway more than anything else. 300 years of ships vanishing into the same sector of space, and not one distress call had ever made it back. Not one escape pod. Not even wreckage drifting on solar winds. The region the Galactic Council called the Barrier had swallowed 17 exploration missions, 42 trade convoys, and 6 military fleets. Everything that crossed the boundary simply ceased to exist. Ren adjusted the neural interface connecting him to the Veshan warship Relentless Truth. Around him, the command center hummed with activity as his crew prepared for the crossing. They were the best the Veshan Empire had to offer. 5 ships, 2,000 soldiers. Weapons that could crack a planet's crust. If something hostile lurked beyond the barrier, they would find it and destroy it. "All vessels report ready," announced Carla Moss from the science station. The tall woman's silver skin reflected the display screens, making her look like a living hologram. "Crossing in 60 seconds. Any final readings?" Ren asked. "Same as always, nothing. No radiation spikes, no gravitational anomalies, no energy signatures, just empty space." Carla shook her head. "Whatever happens to ships, it leaves no trace." The fleet moved forward as one. Ren watched the tactical display count down the distance to the invisible line where ships stopped reporting back. His people had debated for decades whether to investigate. Some claimed the barrier protected something valuable. Others believed it hid a weapon left by an ancient civilization. A few whispered about gods and monsters. The Veshan Empire had finally decided that ignorance posed a greater threat than knowledge. "Crossing now," Carlo announced. The universe didn't change. No flash of light, no sudden turbulence, no dramatic shift in the sensor readings. They simply moved from one section of space to another. Ren released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Status report. All systems normal, fleet intact. Communications with the Council are down, but that was expected. We're on our own now." Carla paused, studying her screens. "Wait. I'm picking up something. Hostiles, number signals, radio transmissions, lots of them. They're organized, patterned. Someone is broadcasting out here." She looked up, confusion clear in her eyes. "The signals are coming from everywhere, hundreds of sources, thousands." Ren felt his chest tighten. The barrier wasn't empty, it was full of activity. "Can you translate?" "Working on it." "The encryption is primitive, almost ancient. These broadcasts are using technology we abandoned millennia ago." Carla's fingers danced across her console. "Got it. They're speaking in multiple languages. Most are dead tongues from extinct civilizations. There's Kreln, Scythian, even Old Veshan. Someone is broadcasting in languages that haven't been used in centuries." "What are they saying?" "The same thing in every language." Carla's voice dropped to a whisper. "Welcome to human space. State your purpose." Before Ren could respond, alarms shrieked across the command center. The tactical display lit up with a new contact. Something small and fast was approaching from deeper in the barrier. The object moved at speeds that made no sense, changing direction with impossible precision. "Weapons ready," Ren ordered. "Target is not charging weapons," reported the tactical officer. "It's just watching us." The object stopped 10,000 kilometers away. Close enough to be threatening, far enough to avoid immediate confrontation. Ren studied the visual feed. The craft was tiny compared to his warships, barely larger than an escape pod. Its design was strange, almost primitive. Chemical thrusters, basic hull plating, no visible energy shields. "How is something that's small moving so fast?" he asked. "Unknown. The propulsion system doesn't match anything in our databases. It's like they're using chemical rockets, but achieving speeds that should require antimatter engines." Carla's confusion was evident. "This doesn't make sense." The communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect Veshan, though the accent was unfamiliar. "Veshan vessels, you have entered protected space. We mean you no harm, but we require you to explain your presence. Are you explorers, traders, or do you come with hostile intent?" Ren activated the transmitter. "This is Captain Ren Talloway of the Veshan Empire. We are searching for ships that vanished in this region. We mean no harm to anyone." A pause, then the voice responded. "Understood, Captain. Please follow our escort. We will bring you to Outpost Meridian, where you can speak with our diplomatic representatives. Do not deviate from the designated path. For your own safety." The small craft turned and began moving deeper into the barrier. Ren looked at his crew. They stared back with the same question in their eyes. What choice did they have? They came here for answers. Follow them, Ren ordered. As the fleet moved forward, the sensors began picking up more activity. Massive structures orbited distant stars. Construction projects on a scale that defied belief. Ring worlds, Dyson swarms, entire solar systems transformed into habitats. The crew watched in silence as they passed a planet being actively terraformed, its atmosphere shifting from toxic to breathable in real time. "How long have they been out here?" someone whispered. "Long enough to build an empire," Carla answered. "Long enough to make the Galactic Council look like children playing with blocks." A space station appeared ahead, larger than anything the Veshan Empire had ever constructed. It hung in orbit around a blue and green world that looked almost impossibly vibrant. The escort craft led them to a docking ring that could have held 50 ships their size. "Outpost Meridian welcomes you," the voice said. "Ambassador Wright is waiting. She's very interested to meet you." Ren watched the station grow larger on the view screen. Somewhere out there, hundreds of ships had vanished. Not destroyed, the voice had said. They came here and never left. The question was simple. Why would anyone choose to stay? Ambassador Lena Wright did not look like someone who commanded an empire. She was short, barely reaching Ren's shoulder, with dark skin and graying hair pulled back in a simple tie. Her clothing was practical rather than ceremonial. No weapons, no guards, no display of power. She stood alone in the docking bay, waiting with a smile that seemed genuinely warm. "Captain Talloway," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. "Thank you for accepting our invitation. I know this must be unsettling." Ren clasped her hand carefully, aware that humans were physically weaker than Veshans. Her grip was firm despite her small size. "Ambassador, we have questions." "Of course you do. Please walk with me. Your crew is welcome to explore the station while we talk. They'll find it quite safe." Lena gestured toward the interior corridors. "We've hosted visitors from 300 different species. We understand cultural differences." They walked through corridors that mixed familiar technology with strange innovations. Ren noticed other aliens moving freely through the station. Insected Kresh wearing what looked like farming tools. Aquatic Delmer in mobile water tanks. Species he didn't recognize, all seemingly comfortable in this place. "The ships that entered this region," Ren began. "What happened to them?" "They're still here, all of them. Well, most of them. A few decided to return home after learning about us, and we let them go freely." Lena led him into an observation deck overlooking the planet below. "The rest chose to stay, some to trade. Some to settle, some simply because they found opportunities they never had in Galactic Council space." "You're saying no one was destroyed?" "No one was captured. That's correct." Lena's expression grew more serious. "Though I understand why the Council would assume otherwise. From their perspective, ships enter our space and disappear. But Captain, ask yourself this. If we were hostile, if we were conquering or destroying visitors, wouldn't at least one ship have escaped to warn others?" The logic was sound, but it raised another question. "Then why hide? Why let the galaxy believe this region was deadly? We didn't hide from everyone, only from empires like yours." Lena gestured to the viewport. "Look at that world, Earth. That's our homeworld, Captain. 400 years ago, my ancestors were confined to that single planet, killing each other over resources, religion, and territory. We nearly destroyed ourselves 3 separate times: nuclear war, biological weapons, environmental collapse." Ren studied the planet. It looked peaceful now, covered in blue oceans and green landmasses. Cities glowed on the night side like clusters of stars. "We survived by learning hard lessons," Lena continued. "We learned that cooperation beats competition, that diversity strengthens rather than weakens, that sharing resources creates more wealth than hoarding them. When we reached space, we decided to build something different than what we left behind. An alliance, more than that, a true community. When the Kresh arrived 80 years ago, they came as raiders. They expected easy prey. Instead, we offered them partnership. We had agricultural technology they needed. They had biological knowledge we wanted. Now they run the finest farming operations in 100 systems." Ren watched a Kresh delegation pass by the observation deck, their clicking conversation animated and cheerful. They didn't look like raiders, they looked like farmers discussing crop yields. The Delmer came as traders, Lena said. The Thought-Singers came as explorers. The Wanderer clans came seeking refuge from persecution. Every group found something here they couldn't find elsewhere. Freedom, opportunity, acceptance, and what do humans gain from this? Knowledge, perspective, friends, Lena smiled. Captain, humanity spent most of its history alone. When we finally reached the stars and found other intelligent life, it was the greatest gift we could imagine. Why would we waste that by trying to dominate or control? Carla Moss appeared at the observation deck entrance, her expression urgent. Captain, you need to see this. The integration zones. They're showing us the integration zones. Wren followed Carla to a briefing room where the rest of his senior officers had gathered. Holographic displays showed dozens of worlds, each one teeming with mixed populations of humans and aliens. Agricultural worlds, industrial centers, research stations, entertainment hubs. Every imaginable type of settlement, all functioning with apparent harmony. This is impossible, muttered the tactical officer. Species don't cooperate like this. There are always conflicts over resources, territory, cultural differences. There are conflicts, Lena admitted. We're not perfect. But we resolve them through dialogue and compromise rather than violence. We've built systems specifically to handle disputes fairly. Courts staffed by judges from multiple species. Trade agreements that benefit everyone involved. Cultural exchange programs that prevent misunderstandings from escalating. Wren studied the data. Humanity had been in space for only 4 centuries, yet they had accomplished more than civilizations 10 times older. Their technology advanced at impossible speeds, incorporating innovations from every species they encountered. Their economy grew exponentially through trade networks that connected hundreds of worlds. Their military, while rarely displayed, showed concerning capabilities in the few recorded conflicts. Why did you isolate yourselves from the Galactic Council? Wren asked the question that had bothered him since arriving. With these resources, this cooperation, you could dominate council politics. Lena's smile faded. Because the council is built on the same principles that nearly destroyed Earth. Competition. Hierarchy, the strong dominating the weak. We've seen that system before, Captain. We know how it ends. So you hide. We protect what we've built. The council has started 3 major wars in the past century alone. Billions dead over territory and ideology. We won't be part of that. But we also won't let the council interfere with species seeking alternatives. Lena met his gaze directly. That's why ships don't return, Captain. Because once people see what's possible here, going back to the old ways becomes unbearable. Wren felt something shift in his understanding. This wasn't a trap. It wasn't a prison. It was something far more dangerous to empires like his own. It was hope. The agricultural world called New Harvest stretched below the shuttle in endless fields of colors Wren had never seen in nature. Purple grain swayed in artificial winds. Blue vegetables grew in perfect geometric patterns. Orchards of trees bearing fruit in impossible sizes dotted the landscape between processing facilities that hummed with activity. Carla sat beside him, scanning everything with her portable sensors. The soil composition is optimized for 12 different crop types simultaneously. That shouldn't work. Different plants need different nutrients, different pH levels. But it does work, Lena said from across the shuttle cabin. Because the creche taught us their biological engineering techniques, and we taught them our industrial farming methods. Together, we created something neither species could have achieved alone. The shuttle landed near a facility where hundreds of creche workers moved through the fields. Their chitinous bodies were built for combat, with powerful limbs and natural armor plating. But they carried harvesting tools instead of weapons, working in coordinated teams that demonstrated clear organization and purpose. A creche approached as they exited the shuttle. He was massive, easily 3 meters tall, with deep green carapace that showed scars from old battles. When he spoke, his voice came through a translation device attached to his thorax. Ambassador Wright, welcome to New Harvest. I am clicking stones in river. The creche turned to Wren. You are Veshin. Your empire once hired creche mercenaries for border wars. That was before my time, Wren said carefully. But you know what we were, raiders, killers. Our homeworld had too many mouths to feed, so we took food from others by force. Clicking Stones in River gestured toward the fields. When we came to human space 90 years ago, we expected easy prey. Soft species with rich worlds and weak defenses. What happened? We attacked a human agricultural station on the third moon of their colony world, killed 16 workers. Stole 3 months of food supplies. The Kresh's mandibles clicked in what might have been shame. The human response arrived within 6 hours, not a battle fleet. A single diplomatic ship, Lena smiled slightly. We found that talking usually works better than shooting. They offered us a choice, Clicking Stones in River continued. Fight and die or learn to feed ourselves. They showed us their farming technology, explained how they turned hostile worlds into gardens. Said they would teach us everything if we agreed to stop raiding. And you agreed? Ren found that hard to believe. Warriors didn't become farmers overnight. 3 clans agreed. 7 clans refused and attacked again. The Kresh's tone grew darker. Those 7 clans no longer exist. Humans are very good at war when necessary, but the 3 clans who accepted the offer. We received seeds, equipment, training, and land. Humans helped us terraform 4 worlds to Kresh environmental preferences. They asked for nothing in return except that we stop killing innocent beings. They walked through processing facilities where Kresh and humans worked side by side. The humans looked tiny next to their insectoid colleagues, but they moved with easy familiarity, joking and sharing meals during breaks. Ren watched a human child ride on a Kresh worker's shoulder, laughing as they moved through the facility. We feed 200 billion beings now, Clicking Stones in River said with clear pride. Across 40 systems, Kresh who once killed for scraps now produce enough food to prevent famine across entire sectors. Humans gave us purpose beyond violence. The next stop was a research station orbiting a gas giant. Here the crystalline thought singers conducted experiments in quantum mechanics alongside human scientists. The singers communicated through light patterns, their translucent bodies pulsing with colors that formed complex sentences. We were dying, one singer explained through a translation matrix. Our home star was entering its final phase. We had the technology to travel between stars, but nowhere to go. Every habitable world we found was already claimed by species who saw us as competition or threats. Humans offered us sanctuary, another singer added. They helped us establish colonies in systems with the right type of stellar radiation. They funded our research into consciousness transfer so we could preserve our people's memories. They asked only that we share our mathematical discoveries. Carla was practically vibrating with excitement as she examined the research. These equations could revolutionize faster than light travel. Why haven't you published them? We have, the singer replied, within human space. But we don't share with civilizations that would use advanced travel for conquest rather than exploration. The pattern became clear as they visited world after world. The aquatic Delmer who brought knowledge of deep-sea mining in exchange for human help terraforming ocean worlds. The nomadic wanderer clans who found permanent homes after fleeing persecution elsewhere. The shy whisper folk who could manipulate electromagnetic fields but had been enslaved by 3 different empires before humans freed them. Every species had something to contribute. Every species received support and protection. The system worked because it was built on genuine mutual benefit rather than exploitation. That night back on Outpost Meridian, Ren found himself in an observation lounge overlooking Earth. Other members of his crew had gathered there, talking quietly among themselves. The mood was subdued. We've built our entire civilization on strength, Carla said, joining him at the viewport. The strong lead, the weak follow, resources go to those who can take and hold them. It's worked for us for thousands of years. Has it? Ren gestured toward the planet below. They were confined to one world 4 centuries ago. Now they coordinate hundreds of species across thousands of systems. They've achieved in a fraction of the time what took us millennia, and they did it through cooperation rather than conquest. The Veshan Empire won't like this, Carla said. If our people learn about human space, about what's possible here, they'll start asking why we don't have the same opportunities. Why our system keeps most Veshans struggling while the elite hoard resources. Ren knew she was right. Human space wasn't just an alternative civilization. It was proof that everything the Veshan Empire stood for was inefficient, wasteful, and ultimately self-defeating. That made it more dangerous than any weapon. It made it an idea. And ideas were impossible to destroy. Archive Station Remembrance looked different from other human installations. Where Outpost Meridian gleamed with activity and life, this station felt solemn. Dark metal corridors led to chambers filled with holographic displays, each one documenting a piece of history that humanity refused to forget. Lena's usual warmth had faded. Her expression was serious as she led Ren and his senior officers through security checkpoints staffed by armed guards. These were the first human soldiers Ren had seen, and they carried themselves with the quiet confidence of experienced warriors. "You asked why we hide from empires," Lena said. "This is why." They entered a massive chamber where holographic records floated in organized arrays. Each display showed a different civilization. Some names Ren recognized from history. Others were completely unknown. All of them had one thing in common: they were extinct or fundamentally changed. "The Krelln hegemony," Lena began, activating a display. 280 years ago, they discovered human colonies on the edge of what's now our space. The Krelln were slavers. They saw our people as valuable merchandise. The hologram showed Krelln warships descending on peaceful settlements. Human colonists being captured, sorted, marked with control collars. Children separated from parents, families torn apart. The images were difficult to watch. "They took 14,000 humans in the first raid," Lena continued, her voice tight. "Earth sent diplomatic envoys demanding their return. The Krelln executed the envoys on live broadcast and sent back their bodies as a message." "What did humanity do?" Ren asked, though he suspected he knew. "We went to war." The hologram shifted to show human military mobilization, fleets assembling, weapons being manufactured, training facilities running day and night. The Krelln hegemony controlled 47 star systems. They had been practicing slavery for 6 centuries. They thought themselves invincible. The next images showed the war. Human ships moved with precision that bordered on prescient. They didn't just attack military targets. They struck infrastructure, supply lines, communication networks. Within 72 hours, the Krelln hegemony's coordination collapsed. Their vast empire fragmented into isolated systems unable to support each other. "We destroyed their entire slaving apparatus," Lena said. "Every control collar facility, every auction house, every breeding program. We freed 3 billion beings from 20 different species. And we made sure the Krelln could never rebuild their empire." "You killed them all?" Carla asked quietly. "No, we killed their leadership and everyone who refused to surrender. The rest we re-educated, showed them what they had done was wrong, helped them build a new society based on cooperation rather than exploitation." Lena's eyes were hard. "The Krelln today are farmers and craftsmen, peaceful, productive. They know what they were and they're ashamed of it." Ren watched the records continue. After the military victory came occupation, reconstruction, and integration. Humanity didn't just defeat the Krelln. They dismantled everything that made the hegemony possible and rebuilt it from the ground up. "That was just one empire," Lena said, gesturing to the other displays. "The Scythian incursion tried to exterminate humanity because their religion declared us heretics. We ended their government in 5 days. The Raldor Collective attempted to seize our industrial worlds. We collapsed their economy in 3 weeks. The Ghost Fleet pirates thought our merchant convoys were easy targets. We hunted down every single pirate vessel across 200 systems. Display after display showed the same pattern: aggression against humanity, swift, overwhelming response. Complete dismantlement of hostile power structures, then rehabilitation and integration for those willing to change. "We don't start wars," Lena said, "but we end them." "Permanently?" A junior officer from Ren's crew, young and aggressive, spoke up. "These are impressive victories against primitive opponents. But the Veshan Empire is more advanced than the Krelln or Scythians ever were. Our fleet alone outnumbers everything I've seen in human space by 10 to 1. Lena regarded him with something like pity. "Lieutenant, you're correct that you haven't seen our full military. That's intentional. But since you're curious, let me show you something." She activated a new display. A tactical simulation appeared, showing current force distributions. The Veshan Empire's military might on one side, human defense capabilities on the other. This is based on intelligence we've gathered through observation and the occasional Veshan defector, Lena explained. Run the scenario, full military engagement. Your empire attacks human space with everything you have. The simulation began. Veshan fleets advanced. Then the display exploded with red markers as hidden human defenses activated. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids and debris. Ships that had been powered down in the far reaches of systems. Defense networks spanning hundreds of light years. The tactical officer monitoring the simulation went pale. That can't be accurate. The firepower differential is absurd. It's conservative, if anything, Lena said. Humanity has prepared for this scenario for 3 centuries. Every solar system in our space is fortified. Every asteroid belt contains hidden assets. Every inhabited world has underground shelters and defense batteries. We don't want to fight, but we're ready for it. The simulation continued. Within 6 hours of simulated time, every major Veshan military installation was destroyed. Their home world's orbital defenses were shattered. Their fleet was reduced to scattered survivors. The Veshan Empire ceased to exist as a military power. You could have destroyed the Galactic Council at any time, Ren said, his mouth dry. Yes, Lena agreed, but what would that accomplish? We'd trade one empire for another with humanity as the oppressors. That's not what we want. We want partners, not subjects. She deactivated the simulation. This is why we hide from empires, Captain. Because once you know we exist, you have to make a choice. Either accept us as equals and partners, or try to destroy us before we become a threat. And option 2 ends very badly for everyone involved. Ren looked at his crew. They stared at the displays in silence, understanding finally settling over them. Humanity wasn't hiding because they were weak. They were hiding because they were terrifyingly strong, and they knew what that strength could do if misused. Ren's crew stopped speaking to each other in anything more than necessary communications. Some wanted to leave immediately, to warn the Veshan Empire about the threat they had discovered. Others argued for establishing formal relations, for finding a way to benefit from what humanity offered. A few openly discussed defection. Ren himself felt caught between 2 impossible choices. Return home and report the truth, knowing it would likely trigger the exact war humanity had prepared for. Or stay silent and watch, as his own people remained ignorant of the most significant development in galactic history. Lena gave them space to think, but she also offered them more opportunities to see human civilization up close. Ren accepted an invitation to visit Armstrong's Landing, a city on Earth's moon that served as a major hub for human-alien cooperation. The city sprawled across lunar valleys, protected by massive atmospheric domes that created Earth-like conditions inside. Ren walked through streets where humans mingled freely with dozens of alien species. Markets sold goods from 100 worlds. Restaurants offered cuisine adapted for different biologies. Children of various species played together in parks, their differences seeming irrelevant to their games. A young Veshan woman approached him in a plaza. She wore clothing that marked her as a civilian rather than military, and she carried herself with an ease that suggested long familiarity with this place. Captain Talloway, she said, her accent carrying notes of both Veshan and human languages. I'm Rivera. I was hoping I'd get a chance to speak with you. You're Veshan, Ren observed. How long have you been here? 12 years. I came with a trade delegation when I was barely an adult. I was supposed to return after 6 months. Rivera smiled. I never left. Why not? Because here I can be more than what the Empire assigned me to be. Back home, I was designated for agricultural work because of my genetic markers. It didn't matter that I had aptitude for engineering. The Empire's efficiency algorithms decided my path before I was born. Rivera gestured to a nearby building. Here, I design fusion reactors. I've contributed to projects that power entire worlds. I've learned from 17 different species, and I've taught what I know to hundreds of students. You abandoned your duty. I found a better one. Rivera's expression grew serious. Captain, I know what you're thinking, that this place is too good to be true, that there must be a hidden cost. I thought the same thing when I arrived. But I've lived here for over a decade, and I've seen the truth. Humans genuinely believe that cooperation creates better outcomes than competition. They've built their entire civilization on that principle, and it works. Ren wanted to argue, but the evidence surrounded him. The city functioned with an efficiency that rivaled anything in the Veshan Empire, but without the rigid hierarchy and forced assignments that made his own society work. People chose their paths here. They collaborated because they wanted to, not because algorithms dictated optimal outcomes. That evening, Lena arranged for Ren to meet with human military commanders at Fort Redemption, a base hidden in the asteroid belt surrounding Earth. The commanders were veterans of the conflicts, shown in Archive Station Remembrance. They carried themselves with quiet professionalism, showing none of the bombast common among Veshan military leadership. General Park was a woman whose gray hair and scarred hands spoke of long service. She walked Ren through the base's command center, showing him the systems that coordinated human defenses across thousands of light years. "We don't glorify war," Park explained. "Most of my staff have university degrees in conflict resolution, cultural anthropology, or diplomacy. We train warriors, yes. But we train them to be peacekeepers first and soldiers second." "That seems contradictory," Ren said. "Only if you think military force exists solely for conquest. We see it as a tool for protection. Protection of ourselves, yes, but also protection of anyone who can't defend themselves." Park pulled up records of human interventions. "Last year we stopped a genocide on a world outside our normal territory. The dominant species was exterminating a minority group over religious differences. We evacuated 2 million beings and destroyed the weapons being used against them. The Galactic Council didn't intervene. The Council was still debating whether it qualified as an internal matter." Park's expression hardened. "We don't wait for permission to stop atrocities. We act and we deal with the political consequences afterward." Carla had been studying human genetic records and made a discovery that changed everything. She found Ren in his quarters late that night, her excitement barely contained. "They engineered themselves," she said without preamble. "The humans. They deliberately modified their own genetics over centuries. For combat enhancement? No, the opposite. They enhanced empathy, increased capacity for cooperation. Reduced tribalistic impulses and xenophobia. They literally evolved themselves to be more compassionate." Carla showed him the data. "This explains everything. Why they build alliances instead of empires. Why they prefer cooperation to conquest. It's not just culture or philosophy. They changed their fundamental nature." Ren stared at the information, trying to process it. Most species enhanced themselves for strength, intelligence, or longevity. Humanity had chosen to make themselves better at caring about others. "They made themselves vulnerable," he said. "They made themselves stronger in ways that matter more than physical power or weapons." Carla's voice held wonder. "Captain, they won wars against slavers and genocidal empires, not despite their compassion, but because of it. They fight harder to protect others than most species fight for themselves." The communication console interrupted them with an urgent alert. Ren activated it and felt his chest tighten as he recognized the encryption signature. The Veshan Empire had located their fleet. Admiral Corvin's face appeared on the screen, his expression stern. "Captain Talloway, we've tracked your position. A rescue fleet is en route. You will be extracted in 18 hours. Prepare for immediate departure upon our arrival." "Admiral, we are not in danger. We're engaged in diplomatic discussions with the local government. You've been compromised. The fleet will secure the area and extract all Veshan personnel." Corvin's tone left no room for argument. "If the locals resist, we are authorized to use force. Corvin out." The transmission ended. Ren looked at Carla and saw his own horror reflected in her eyes. The secret was about to be exposed, and it was going to happen through violence. The transformation of human space happened within minutes. Systems that had appeared civilian revealed military purposes. Asteroid mining operations rotated to expose weapon batteries. Agricultural stations deployed defensive shields. Trade vessels that had seemed unarmed reconfigured into patrol craft. The entire infrastructure shifted from peaceful commerce to war footing with frightening efficiency. Ren watched from Outpost Meridian's command center as the display filled with red tactical markers. Thousands of them. Defense platforms, ship deployments, sensor networks. Everything that the simulation had shown and more. Lena stood beside him, her expression sad but resolute. We hoped it wouldn't come to this. I need to contact Corvin. Make him understand before he does something catastrophic. Ren activated his communication system, broadcasting on every Veshan military frequency. Admiral Corvin, this is Captain Talloway. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. We are not hostages. We are guests. The forces you're about to face are far beyond our capacity to resist. Corvin's response was immediate and angry. Captain, you've clearly been influenced by hostile elements. The rescue fleet will secure your release. Corvin out. 18 hours passed in tense preparation. Ren spent most of it trying desperately to make Corvin listen, to make him see reason. But the Admiral was convinced that humans had somehow compromised the exploration fleet. That Ren and his crew were speaking under duress or manipulation. When the Veshan rescue fleet arrived, it was the largest military force the Empire had assembled in decades. 300 warships. Enough firepower to conquer most civilizations. Corvin clearly intended to leave nothing to chance. Lena activated the station's communication systems and broadcast to the entire Veshan fleet. Admiral Corvin, I am Ambassador Lena Wright representing the human Commonwealth. Your people are safe and here by choice. We invite you to join us for diplomatic discussions. Violence is unnecessary. Surrender Captain Talloway and his crew immediately, Corvin demanded. You have 30 minutes to comply. We are not holding anyone. Your people are free to leave at any time. Lena's voice remained calm despite the threat. Admiral, we have no quarrel with the Veshan Empire. Please reconsider this course of action. Corvin gave the order. A single destroyer fired on what appeared to be a civilian freight station. The shot never reached its target. A defense platform intercepted it with a precision point defense system that turned the weapon's energy back on itself in a brilliant flash. What happened next lasted exactly 29 seconds by Ren's count. Every weapon system on every Veshan ship simply stopped working. Targeting computers went dark. Power to weapons fell to 0. Engines remained functional. Life support stayed online. But every offensive and defensive system across 300 warships shut down simultaneously. The Veshan fleet hung in space, completely helpless. No shots fired, Lena said quietly. No casualties, no damage to their vessels. We disabled their weapons without harming a single Veshan. Ren stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The technology required to infiltrate and control enemy systems across an entire fleet was beyond anything he had imagined possible. Humanity hadn't just prepared to fight the Veshan Empire. They had prepared to defeat them without killing anyone. Lena opened a new channel to Corvin. Admiral, your fleet is intact, your crew is safe, but you are no longer a threat. Now will you talk? The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Corvin's voice came through, stripped of its earlier confidence. What kind of technology can do this? The kind that 300 cooperating species develop together, Lena answered. The kind that comes from sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it. Admiral, we've been preparing for this scenario for centuries. Not because we want war with the Veshan Empire, but because we refuse to let misunderstanding or fear lead to unnecessary death. You could destroy us. We could disable you, as you've just seen. Destroying you would be simple after that. But Admiral, that's not who we are. We don't want enemies, we want partners. Lena's voice softened. Your people have been in our space for weeks now. Have we harmed them, imprisoned them, or have we shown them possibilities they never imagined? Over the next 3 hours, Admiral Corvin and his senior staff transferred to Outpost Meridian. Ren watched his superior officer go through the same journey of discovery that he had experienced. The tour of integrated worlds, the meetings with species that had found prosperity in human space. The records of conflicts where humanity had shown both overwhelming military capability and remarkable restraint. Corvin was not an easy convert. He questioned everything, challenged every assumption, demanded proof for every claim. But the evidence surrounded him. Civilizations that thrived through cooperation. Military victories achieved through precision rather than massacre. a society built on principles that contradicted everything the Veshan Empire taught, but somehow worked better than the system he had served his entire life. The final revelation came when Corvin met Rivera and other Veshan defectors. Not prisoners or slaves or manipulated victims, but free citizens who had chosen this life and found fulfillment in it. People who had left the Empire's rigid hierarchy for a society that valued individual choice and collaborative achievement. 3 months later, the Meridian Accords were signed. The Veshan Empire agreed to formal diplomatic relations with the human Commonwealth. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges began. Veshan citizens gained the right to immigrate to human space if they chose, while humans could visit Veshan worlds. Not everyone in the Empire was happy. Traditionalists railed against the agreement, claiming it would corrupt Veshan culture and weaken their military superiority. But the younger generations saw something different. They saw opportunity. Freedom, choice. Ren accepted a position as liaison between his people and Earth. He established an office on Armstrong's Landing, where he helped other Veshans navigate this strange new world of cooperation and mutual benefit. Standing in his office one evening, watching humans and aliens work together on a joint engineering project, he understood finally why ships entered human space and never returned. They found something worth staying for. Not conquest or wealth or power, but the simple revolutionary idea that different species could build something together greater than any could achieve alone. Humanity had not taught the galaxy to fear them. They taught the universe to hope, and that changed everything.